This new US president really is casting a huge shadow over even Australian politics. Labor leader Bill Shorten today acknowledged that in a speech at the National Press Club, a speech he's intended to explain where Labor is going this year. Now, Shorten started by stating very clearly exactly the problem that's killing both Labor and the Liberals.
Too many of our fellow Australians think the system is broken, and more than a few of them don't trust us to fix it. And I say us, because virtually everyone in this room is considered part of the problem, part of the political class. Rightly or wrongly, fairly or unfairly, we're seen as members of the same club of insiders, letting the rest of Australia down. This sense of alienation, though, is not a local curiosity. It's a global phenomenon, strong enough to take Britain out of Europe and to put Donald Trump into the White House.
Exactly right. You've heard that from me for years now. And if you doubt how serious that problem is, look at today's Essential Media poll. It found 40% of Australians now think the system is broken and needs fundamental change. And another 44% think that while the system's working all right, it does need refining. Now that is one huge majority for change. But will Bill Shorten's Labor Party give Australians that change they demand? Can he now stop the leaking of votes to Pauline Hanson and other new political forces appealing to the marginalised and the disgusted? Not a chance. Shorten's speech today was not a blueprint for change at all. OK, he did say he'd crack down even more on politicians rorting and on corruption, but all that is such small beer. Australians aren't sick of our political system just because a couple of politicians fiddle their expenses. They're sick of it because so many lies are told, so many promises broken, so little vision offered, so much money spent on trash while their taxes rise. And they're sick of it because they see the political class talking among themselves and looking after the insiders. They're sick of it because they see themselves getting shoved aside by bullies, jumping the queue, by playing the victim card, the racism card, sexism, whatever. And they are particularly sick of being screamed at and abused and forced to shut their mouths while they try to protest. Now, what did Shorten say about any of that? Nothing. Well, that's not entirely true. Shorten actually promised to keep looking after his union mates, to keep playing identity politics, to keep feeding you utter bull about global catastrophes.
We won't cut wages, penalty rates and the safety net. We won't give up on marriage equality, on reconciliation and constitutional recognition of our first Australians, and we won't give up on real action on climate change.
Shorten also refused again to even discuss the cost of his mad plan to somehow triple the amount of expensive renewable energy, wind, solar, that Labor will force you to use within just 13 years. And to defend that hideously expensive plan, he told more of that nonsense that simply sticking up some more wind farms in Australia was really going to stop cyclones and floods around the world.
There's the opportunity cost of not acting. Let's have a look at the opportunity cost of not acting on climate change. More drought, more negative impact on our tourism industries, more extreme weather events.
What rubbish. Nor will Shorten fix the economic problems we face. In fact, he refused to even name perhaps the most dangerous one of all. See if you can spot it.
Our economy is not heading in the direction that Australia needs. Our growth rate is too low. Productivity growth, too low. Wages growth at historic lows.
That's right. Shorten never once mentioned the government's record debt. It's now about to smash through $500 billion. Hey, but why would he mention that? Then he'd just have to explain what spending cuts he'd make. And when you see today's essential poll, well, he's so far ahead of the government, why would he risk offending anyone anyway? So, what did Shorten promise today? Well, more government money for jobs for apprentices, and whack that on the credit card. And more emphasis on training our own workers rather than lazily importing more.
It is too easy to import our skills rather than train our people. And too many work visas are being used as a low-cost substitute for employing an Australian, not to address a genuine shortage.
Now, that's not a bad point, but again, beware the hypocrisy. The last Labor government actually issued more work visas for foreign workers coming in than any other. Now, in fact, Shorten today promised it'd actually block the one plan the government does have to create jobs, and that's the plan to cut our very high company taxes for all businesses to make them more able to compete internationally so that they can invest here and hire here.
We won't give away $50 billion in a tax-funded spree to large multinationals. You know, what is Malcolm Turnbull's economic plan for 2017? Corporate tax cuts, $50 billion, negligible impact.
Is Labor really saying now that there's no link between the level of company tax and investment in jobs? Heaven help us. So, Shorten today just ended up promising business as usual from Labor, exactly what he said we don't want. Now, Malcolm Turnbull will give his own speech at the National Press Club tomorrow. Same thing, the vision ahead. Australians have got to pray that his speech, at least, does promise real change, or this country really is in deep strife.